Hello!
Hello!
I am Kieran and this is John, and we are the guys from Mech'It Better.
Now we are doing a series of videos with South Yorkshire Safer Roads Partnership based around small motorbike maintenance. We've done a few so far and there are more to follow, but today we're going to be looking at bulbs. So what are bulbs? That's pretty straightforward, but what do you do if your bulb is not working? So we've got a couple of bikes to look at. It's the same bikes we've had before. We've got the Honda CG125 and the Suzuki Dress110. So let's go and have a look at those right now.
Before you go riding, you want to be sure that all your lights are working. We do have a separate video on pre-ride checks, so go take a look. Now if you do find that your bulb's not doing what it should do, then it's going to need changing. Now depending on what bike you have, that's going to be a different process. But let's take a look at some of the differences.
In the blue corner, we've got the Honda CG125, which is a very traditional sort of a motorbike. We've got indicators out on stalks left and right. We've got a headlight bulb bolted on at the front and a brake light and indicators just bolted on at the back. In theory, relatively easy to change the bulbs in these units.
In the grey corner, we have this silver plastic spaceship that you're probably going to have to take most of the entire bike to pieces just to change one bulb.
So with that being said, we're going to start with the easy one, the Honda, and the first thing I'm going to show you is how to get into the headlight to change the headlight bulb.
These are fairly generic headlights, so most of the time it's just a couple of screws on either side. So if you get your screwdriver, jam it in there, and there, you're on your way.
Now we've got those two screws removed, the headlight should come out of the bowl which remains attached to the bike. Just as so, and you can see inside there are some various bits and bobs. We'll have a close-up look at that, and the bulb is behind that rubber rain seal just there. The bulb in this unit is held on with some springs. It's a bit of a weird arrangement on the Honda. They normally have a piece of wire, like a wire clip holding these on. But in this case, it's springs. So Kieran's just removed one end of the spring, which allows that to come out. And you can see, if I move, the bulb contained within.
When you're handling bulbs, it's always best to use a glove so you don't get any grease or dirt that might then shorten the life of the bulb. It's a bayonet type, which means a push and twist, which then releases. Once you've got your fresh bulb, putting it back in is pretty much the same process. Press it in and twist. If you get any grease or fingerprints on there, just wipe it off with a cloth.
Putting this bulb back is just the reversal of how you removed it, so make sure you get any locating pins in the right place, and in our case we need to reattach the spring. While we're in here then, we'll show you the side light bulb. It's just a small bulb under the headlight, it pulls out, and to remove the bulb itself, it's the same sort of bayonet fitting. You just push it in and twist it, and put the new one in is just the reversal of that process.
Once your bulbs are back in and all good, probably do a quick check to see that they do work before you bolt everything back on. But then it's simple, slot it back in, make sure your wires are all tucked away, and pop your screws back in.
Moving on then to the indicator bulb. On this sort of indicator stalk, it's usually pretty easy to get to the bulbs. In the case of the Honda, there is a screw on the underside here. It might be slightly different. I don't know if you can see over here on the Kawasaki, there are two screws just on the front, but it's the same sort of theory. All you have to do is remove the screw, and once the screw's out, you often have to just prise off the lens cover on the front there like that. Once we're in here then, it's much the same as the headlight bulb in that there is a little holder which you twist and pull, and the bulb is contained within. So as Kieran mentioned before, if you're changing this, the old one not so much, you can take that out. When you put the new one in, just make sure you've got a glove on or clean hands, and if you get anything on there, just wipe it off before you put everything back together.
At the back of the bike, things are very much the same in that there's a couple of screws to remove, and we can take that whole housing off. With your trusty clean glove on, get hold of that bulb, you've got another bayonet fitting, so twist and pull, and you've got your old one out. As you might have guessed, the replacing process is the same as removal, just in reverse. So you pop your bulb back in, give it a twist, and then piece all the housing back on. One other important thing to be aware of is the number plate light. Now on ours, it's a separate unit to the main housing, so keep an eye on that one, and often it's changed in the same way, a couple of screws, remove a lens, and replace the bulb, which is often a bayonet fitting as well.
Well, we can't put it off any longer. We're going to have a look at the scooter. And I say that because it's a little bit more complicated to get to the bulbs on a plastic scooter like this. There's often panels and bits and bobs you need to remove, whereas the traditional motorbike's obviously much easier to get to. That being said, it's not too hard, it's not impossible, so we're going to get into it now. We'll start with an easy one, and in this case it's the side light bulb on the Suzuki address here. Now this is sort of representative of a scooter. Realistically, any kind of scooter is going to be different to this one, so you might need to check your manual to see how to change your bulbs, but we'll show you the process on this one and hopefully you'll at least get an idea of what's happening. So the side light bulb on the address is just here, and you might think, how the heck are you going to get to that? But it's actually fairly simple, because you can go underneath in the wheel arch and feel for the back of this bulb holder. And in this case, all you have to do is just twist it slightly and pull it out from the back. And you can get down to the bulb here and change it from underneath. So that was the side light bulbs on the scooter. The next thing to do is the indicator bulbs. And to get to the back of these bulbs, we actually need to remove this panel here, which I shall do thusly. And inside here, there are some little rotating covers, and it's similar to the other one. You have to rotate it a quarter turn and then pull it out to get to the back of the bulb. So we shall try and do that now. There's not a lot of room in here. Let's see how this goes. Here we are at the front of the scooter then. We've had to remove the battery to try and show you this. But over on that side you can see a grey cap, and you just twist that a quarter turn and the bulb is held on the inside. It's all fingers there, Kieran. All fingers.
Ta-da!
There we are, not awkward at all. So once you get to this point, it's just the same as all the rest. I think it's a bayonet fitting. So push and twist, and then to replace, just push and twist. Good luck getting that back in there.
Moving on to the headlight, couldn't be simpler. It's just a case of removing one screw on the back, and another screw, and another, and a fourth one, and then all you have to do is remove the wing mirrors and their mounts, and then separate the plastic away from itself, and there's another screw under there, but once you've kind of taken all those fixings apart and got access, you should then be able to make some sense of what's going on behind.
Well, what a palaver that was. We are finally at the back of this headlight, and it's fairly straightforward from this point. There is a plug on the back of the bulb which just pulls off thusly.
Just in
any
a
moment
sec.
now. There you go. There's a rubber sealing ring boot thing to stop the weather getting in. Again, that just pulls off there. Easy as you like. And then there's a little wire clip which holds the bulb in, so you just a case of pressing and releasing the clip and pulling the bulb out of the housing. So there we are, that's the bulb. Obviously replacing it is the reversal of what we've just done, with the caveat that you need to make sure that you've not got any grease or fingerprints on the bulb.
Now that we know we've got working bulbs, we now need to make the bike look like it's not been in a crash. So we've got to take our time, put it all back together properly, making sure all the screws and everything's back where it should be. Thankfully, at the back of the bike, it's just as simple as the Honda. In most cases, just a couple of screws to take out, and then you can remove the housing and get access to the bulbs. Now these are typically the same bayonet fitting, so there's nothing to worry about there.
So that was how to change bulbs on two specific motorbikes that you probably don't own anyway. But the details on your bike will be something along those lines, so check out your own manual and you'll find the details in there. If, however, you have changed the bulb and it's still not working, that could be something else entirely. So rather than ride the bike and risk getting into an accident, just have a chat with your local mechanic and see what advice they can offer you.
Now we do have plenty more videos available following similar content on bike maintenance, so if you want to see more of what we've got to offer, then click that subscribe button. And until then, we'll see you on the next one.
Ta-ra!